I've got a new charger here in the state of Charge Garage, and that means it's review time. This time it is the Apex Mach 2 48 amp Wi-Fi connected smart charger. And this guy can be had from the Apex website for only $299. $309 if you buy it on Amazon, but it's still one of the lowest priced 48 amp safety certified smart chargers that you can get today. Is it as good as it sounds? Well, we're going to find out today in the full review of this guy here, and I'll put it through all my torture tests as I usually do. We'll find out if the Apex Mach 2 is the deal that it seems to be. But first, let's open up the box and see what comes inside. All right, well, it's out of the box. Let's see what we have here. This is the unit. It's actually a nice slim unit. It's not too thick, not too big either. We'll go over the dimensions in a minute when we do the key features. It has this nice display screen here. It looks like it's about 4 3/4 inches tall by about 2 3/4 inches wide. And this is a color LED display screen. So I'm interested in seeing just how that works and what type of useful information you get. Now there's a sticker across the front of it that says only set the current to 48 amps if the charger is hardwired to a 60 amp breaker. For NEMA 1450 plug, limit the current to 40 amps and use a 50 amp GFCI breaker. So interesting. And then this ensures compliance with NEC Article 210-19 recommendations. So it seems to me as though this sticker is saying that I have to limit the current to 40 amps when I turn it on. We'll see, because if that's true, that's going to be a big negative because this comes with a NEMA 1450 plug. You can't get it as a hardwire unit. You can hardwire it yourself, and they even give you some instructions on how to do that, which is a little wonky to me that they're kind of, well, actually it does say hardwiring instructions for licensed electrical professionals, but licensed electrical professionals know how to hardwire things. In any event, it also has a 30-foot cable. This is the longest cable I've ever seen on an electric vehicle charger. Usually the cables are limited to 25 feet, and there's a reason for that. The NEC code states that the cables for these electric vehicle chargers shouldn't be longer than 25 feet. But this is ETL certified. It's not UL certified. And I believe UL is in line with NEC code that they don't want the cables longer than 25 feet. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it does have a really long 30-foot cable. And here's the connector. Seems like a good connector. It feels good first impressions in my hand. Has a nice rubber cap. This isn't a thin, cheaply made plastic connector. Seems like it's a good quality connector. And of course, the NEMA 1450 plug, which on itself is in a nice long cable here. It looks like it's nearly 3 feet long, which is good. Gives you a little flexibility to where you mount the unit as compared to where your NEMA 1450 outlet is. Okay, next up, this is the mounting bracket. This is the template for the mounting bracket. So this gets mounted on the wall like this. It says up to show you which way is up. And then once this is on the wall, the unit hangs on it like this. Let me get, if I get there, like that. And then that holds it up. So we'll go over installation in a few. But that's, oops, that's the mounting bracket. This is the connector holster. One of the smallest, weakest connector holsters I've ever seen. Actually, the smallest. It really can't get any smaller than this because it's just the size of the end of the J1772 connector. I think it's pretty funny. Interesting thing is it comes with a rubber gasket, and it came with a set of stainless steel bolts and nuts, which you would never need if you're mounting it to the wall. You can't bolt something to the wall unless you had access to the back side, and these are only like 3/4 inch bolts, so they wouldn't be long enough to go through this thick plastic and into the wall. I've actually seen a connector holster like this once used on a metal mounting pole, an outdoor pole, where there was a charger hooked up to. And these bolts would hold it through a little, like, you know, 1/8 inch metal. And that's what I think that this would be used for. I've never seen anybody install something like this just on the wall. This is usually for an outdoor commercial application on a metal post, but that's what you get with this. And the interesting thing is, this is not what is shown online or in any of the advertisement. That seems like a more traditional connector holster that you might expect with a home charger, but this is what I got with this, and these bolts, which are useless for it. With the mounting kit, you get 7 screws and 7 drywall anchors, which again, these are probably the thinnest, weakest screws and drywall anchors that I've seen with electric vehicle charging equipment. I would recommend you using something a little bit beefier when you mount this, because these are really, really, really thin screws. They're like sheetrock screws and super small drywall anchors. So get yourself some better drywall anchors and really bolt this thing good. You want to have your electric vehicle charger really mounted to the wall strongly, because sometimes you can pull the cable, or for whatever reason, you're going to hang the cable around it. You can't hang the cable on this thing, so you are going to loop the cable around here, and the cable has some weight to it. So make sure you mount your the mounting bracket really well on the wall. Use some better drywall anchors than this. And these things here, if you're going to hardwire it, they actually give you these instructions here, hardwiring instructions for licensed electrical professionals. But they show in the picture you cutting the plug off here, and then stripping the wires and using these terminal connections to hardwire it. And then this is like a shrink wrap to make a watertight seal. You'd put a heat gun on this and it shrinks and seals it. It's not the best setup. I don't think many licensed electricians would use this, what they give you for this. So they almost should just skip that and say, look, if you're going to hardwire it, let your licensed electrical professional do it. They know what to do. So that's interesting that they have that. This here is the quick user guide. This is the instructions on how to pair the unit with your app, which we'll get into later. This here is stickers for your panel, so you can label the circuit, how much power is being delivered, what type of circuit it's on. Most of the chargers come with these days. And this is power and performance. It's just like an advertisement. And it also asks you to rate them online, I guess. So write a product review. So that's up to you if you want to do that. These are 2 RFID cards, which is a good feature to have. So this has, and you can see on the front here, it shows you where to press the RFID card again, or wave it against it. So that's for access control. So evidently you can use these RFID cards and the app, either or, to have access control if this is mounted outside in a public place. I like that when the units have both RFID cards and also app access. So it'll get an extra point in the ChargerRater because you can use the access control both ways. And also, this is amazing. It comes with a J1772 to NACS adapter, and this is an 80 amp adapter. So, geez, for $299, you get the 48 amp Wi-Fi connected smart charger and a J1772 to NACS adapter included. That's a great deal. And the interesting thing is, I looked at this up online, and it said that it's available in both J1772 and NACS, but I couldn't figure out how to order it with a NACS connector. There was no way to order it, but it said available, you know, with this is how they do it. All the units come with both J1772 and NACS through this adapter. So it's a little weird the way they do that, but that's amazing that they can include a J1772 to NACS adapter with this unit and sell it for $299. So as I mentioned in the intro, that was my big attraction to this. It's such a low price unit. I'm gonna figure out if this thing's worth it. If it's built well, it's a super deal. So that's what we'll find out in the review here. But first, let's look at the Apex Mach 2's key features. The Apex Mach 2 costs $299 from the Apex website and $309 if you order it on Amazon. The dimensions are 9.84 inches by 9.84 inches by 3.5 inches. It can deliver up to 48 amps if you hardwire it and 40 amps if you leave the NEMA 1450 plug attached. The power is adjustable from 6 amps up to 48 amps. It has a very long 30-foot cable, which we'll talk about a little later. It has a J1772 connector, but the unit comes standard with a J1772 to NACS adapter, so it can charge any electric vehicle in North America. It has an IP67 enclosure rating, which is equal to a NEMA 6. That's a very high waterproof rating. It has a color LED display. The operating temperature is negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a Wi-Fi connected smart charger. It comes with an app. It's ETL safety certified, Energy Star rated, comes with a very long 5-year standard warranty, and the unit is made in China. State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos. Okay, well, I have the unit's mounting bracket on the wall. I also mounted the connector holster. And the way you attach the unit to the mounting bracket is it simply hangs on. But that's not all you need to do. There's 2 tiny little holes, one on each side of this plastic mounting bracket. And there were also 2 little screws that I didn't mention after I did the unboxing. They were so small, I didn't even see them on there. I knew they were there, but when I was going through what everything was, I just forgot them. And those 2 little screws attach to the side of the unit through this and into the mounting bracket on the back of the unit, and that secures it to the wall, because otherwise when you hang it up, somebody could just take it off and steal it. Now these 2 little screws are not going to provide a lot of security, so this thing could be pulled off the wall pretty easily. Many of the other electric vehicle chargers we review have a much more robust mounting system that will keep your charger if it's in a public location. And Apex does advertise this for public use because they have access control. They say this is good for commercial use. These 2 little screws here are not good for commercial use on this. Somebody could take this thing off the wall really easily if they wanted to, specifically because this mounting bracket is plastic. It's not even metal. Okay, well, this is how we hang it on the wall. As I said, I'm not going to screw those 2 little screws in right now because they're really hard to do. It's actually hard to get the screw in there, and that's why they give you a magnetic tip driver, because you need to put the screw on it and then kind of guide it along the back behind the unit to find that tiny little hole and screw it in. It's not easy to do, and it's not very secure, so it doesn't get good points there for the mounting system, but that's how it is. So let's hang this up for now. Now, another thing to note, the connector holster, as I mentioned before, it doesn't have any type of cable management. You can't hang the cable over it like you usually do. In the case of the Apex, you hang it over the unit itself like this, and then you just holster the connector. And the funny thing is, I looked up online, and the connector holster, we'll do this one here. The connector holster that Apex advertises is not this connector holster. It shows a connector holster, one that's used from a bunch of different chargers. I actually have one here because I got it from a different review that I did months ago. And this is the one that you can see on the Apex website and even on Amazon when they advertise the unit. And this would have some sort of cable management that you could drape it over this if you hang that on the wall. But the connector holster they sent me in this box, you cannot do that. Did they just run out of that and temporarily sent these out for a certain batch of chargers? I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they would just send this out, because this isn't even really meant to be used this way. As I said earlier, they give you like a rubber gasket and stainless steel bolts and nuts This is, I believe, designed to be mounted to a different system, not directly on the wall like this. Will it work? Sure, it will, but it's the bare minimum. It doesn't. You can't even wrap a cable around it. So I almost think that that might have been the case where they ran out of the ones that they advertise and usually give customers and just threw these in the box until they get the other ones in stock. Pure speculation on my part. Okay, let's plug this in. Power up the unit. Okay, so another thing you'll notice here is it's got a nice bright display screen with car status. It says car unplugged, session. There's a time amount there. It's 0 because it's not charging right now. It would tell you how long the car's been charging for. The line voltage, I like when the chargers give you the line voltage either on a display screen or in your app. The current that it's currently set for. And this is set for 40 amps, which is what I was hoping it would be set for. That's good that it defaults to the 40 amp setting, which it should because it has a plug. I was initially concerned that it was going to default to 48 amps with a plug on it and that you had to manually lower it down to 40 amps. I mentioned that in the unboxing. It's not the case. It comes set at 40 amps, which is good. And then you set it, there's a button on the side. There's actually 2 buttons. One button is to wake the display screen up because it times out and it dims, so it's not showing all the data all the time. It'll time out and it'll go dark. You press this button and it lights up. Then the other button is the amperage. And with the amperage, you can toggle through the different current settings. You start off with the 40 amps that it's set at. You can go up to 48 amps. Then it drops down to 6 amps, 8 amps, 10 amps, 13 amps, 16 amps, 20 amps, 24 amps, 32 amps, and then back up to 40 amps. So you can set the unit to deliver the amperage that you want from the unit itself. And also, I believe you can do it in the app, which we're going to take a look at a little bit later. It also shows the current power delivery here. It says 0 kilowatt because it's not plugged in. And plug and play is enabled. So out of the box, you can just plug an EV in and it'll start charging. But if you want access control, there's 2 ways of doing it. Through the app, but also you can turn the unit off here with the access control card. First, what you do is swipe this, it'll beep, and then you press and hold the amperage button for 5 seconds. And now it has changed. It's not plug and play status anymore. It is app or card. So now it says plug and play disabled. If I were to plug in an EV, it will not start charging it. For me to charge it, I have to take the card, swipe it, it'll beep. Now the unit can be used, or I'd have to open up my app and hit start charging. Either way, you can start charging. One other thing I want to mention, as I mentioned in the unboxing, they give you a nice 80 amp J1772 to NACS adapter. God, there's so many adapters. Every time I say it now, I make a mistake. Hopefully we'll get through this adapter period of electric vehicles like within the next 5 or 10 years. Anyway, so now plugged the adapter in, and now you can charge any NACS equipped electric vehicle. Obviously all Tesla vehicles, but now some other manufacturers are starting to ship vehicles with a native NACS port. So the Apex charger can charge any electric vehicle sold in North America, whether it has J1772 or NACS out of the box. It's the only charger that gives you one of these for free that I know of. Well, it's not free, you paid for it, but and that's what surprised me, that this was in the box, considering that this is only $299, a very low price for a 48 amp charger. Okay, so let me see if I missed anything. Oh yeah, I want to talk about this display screen. So the display screen, you see it just timed out and got dark, so I'll press the button and now it lights up. Apex says on their website and wherever they sell it that this is a 5.7 inch display screen. And as soon as I looked at it when I did the unboxing, I said, I don't know how they get 5.7 inches out of this. So let's measure it and see. So first we'll do it top to bottom and side to side. It's 4, just a touch over 4, not even 4 1/4, but we'll call it 4 1/4 inches high by 2 1/2. Actually, it's about 2 5/8 wide. But a lot of times, when you do measurements, you do the diagonal. So let's see what it is diagonally. It is 4 3/4. So just a touch over 4 3/4 maybe. So yeah, maybe 4 13/16. So in no way is this 5.7 inches as they advertise on the website. It's big enough in my opinion. They didn't need to lie about the size of it. I don't know how they can make that mistake. There's not, you know, a different measuring system. Well, there is. They use metric, but there's a very easy conversion, you know, in China where these are made. I don't know how they don't have Chinese inches. You know? So in any event, so that's the size of the screen. It's not 5.7 inches as it is marketed on the website. Okay, well, last thing, cable. Very thin cable. I measured it to only 13.9 millimeter. That's thin. This is thinner than the Tesla wall connectors cable, which is one of the thinnest cables on the market. So that should really help it in the cable deep freeze test. Now the thickness or thinness of the cable isn't all. It also matters on how the jacket is made, whether it's a thick plasticky jacket that freezes really stiffly or if it has a little bit more rubber mixed into it. So that'll really determine how well it performs in the cable deep freeze test. But having it this thin will really help, because even if it's frozen, you can bend it a little bit because it's not so thick that, you know, it overpowers you. You can overpower it and bend it. With that said, let's take the unit off the wall, put it in the freezer, and we'll start off the review with the cold weather testing. It's time for our extreme cold weather testing. I put the Apex charger in this freezer about 25 hours ago. This is a deep freeze freezer. It gets well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to test the unit now and see how pliable and bendable the cable is when it's really cold. Let's say you had the charger installed outside in the winter months. You live in a northern state. You want to make sure that it can hold up to the weather, that it'll power up and charge the car when it's frozen. The cable will bend relatively easily, and also you could drop the connector a few times and it won't just break because the plastic is frozen. So those are the things we're going to do now. First up, let's take a look at how cold it is in there. Negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. So really cold, and as I said, it's been in there for more than 24 hours, a full day cold soaking the unit. So I'm going to take it out. I've coiled the cables up in these small tight loops. We're going to see how well it uncoils and if I can maneuver it nice and easily and hang it up on the connector holster. Now this cable is thin, so that should help it. I measured it to only 13.9 millimeter. It's one of the thinnest cables on a 48 amp charger that I've ever reviewed here. It's actually thinner than the Tesla wall connector cable, which is a very thin cable in itself. So let me grab a cutter here. Okay. We'll see how this guy does. Let me first get the this out here. It's all frozen. It's pretty stiff. This cable's really stiff, but that's normal. The plug cables, we don't expect them to be bendable. You don't have to move them anyway. Let me hang this up on the wall. This is what we're testing for. See how it's coiled up here like a spring? We don't want it to stay that way. So let's see how it works. It's not bad. It's pretty stiff. You see how the connector kind of stands straight out? It won't just flop down. It's pretty stiff. For a thin cable, this isn't extremely bendable, but the fact that it's so thin, you can just overpower it and move it the way you want to. But you can see can you see the frost falling off the jacket there? All right, let me uncoil a little bit. It's not bad, but honestly, for a cable this thin, I kind of would have expected it to perform a little bit better than that. See, this is what you want to do. Put it back up here. It's not bad. It's starting to flop a little bit, but it's warming up because it's in the garage, which is much warmer. When it first came out, it was a lot stiffer. But yeah, so this is not bad. It passes. It's not going to get top score, but it's going to get a pretty good score on the ChargerRater as far as the cable deep freeze test. Now we're going to do the connector drop test. While I have the connector nice and frozen, you can see that frost on that. We're going to drop it 5 times and just make sure that it can handle a few drops on a concrete ground when it's frozen, because you're going to drop your connector. It's just going to happen from time to time. Okay, 5 drops, none the worse for wear. It's fine, passes the connector drop test. Okay, so next what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna power it up. I gotta see if I can get this plug to comply and plug in over here. Well, actually what I can do is, this doesn't even have to be hanging on the wall. It's easier sometimes to just plug these in when they're frozen like this. And then I'm gonna pull in one of my electric vehicles and plug it in and make sure that it charges even though the unit is frozen. Okay, let's see if it powers up. It is powering up. Okay, so it's powered up. So let me pull in one of my EVs and we'll just make sure that it charges at the full rate even though it's frozen. All right, let's plug it in. Get this around here. Okay, let's take a look at this guy here. I could probably bend this. It sounds like it's charging. It still doesn't want to go up. And I just want to make sure it pulls the full 40 amps. Yeah, 9.3 kilowatt. So it's pretty much delivering the full 40 amps right now. So the Apex Mach 2 passes all 3 of our cold weather tests. Next up is our extreme heat test. I've had this heat lamp on the Apex charger for 2 hours now, maintaining a surface temperature of somewhere around 120 degrees. Let's see where we're at now. 121. So after 2 hours, the unit should be pretty much heat soaked. We're doing this to represent if it was located outside somewhere. There's plenty of areas in the country that get up around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. With this black face and the sun directly beating on it, the unit is certainly going to get above 100 degrees, probably around the 120 degree mark if it's out there sitting in direct sunlight all day long. What we want to do now is plug in an electric vehicle, let it charge for 2 hours while I leave the heat lamp on it, to make sure that during that 2 hour period, it delivers the full amount of power. It doesn't derate, it doesn't shut off, overheat, anything like that. All of these units have heat sensors inside, and if they hit a certain temperature, they will shut off. So I just want to make sure that the chargers can handle what they're going to experience in the field in some of the southern states here in America. All right, with that said, let's plug in my Rivian R1S, charge it for 2 hours, and I'll come back and see how much power it's delivered. All right, well, the Mach 2 has been charging my Rivian R1S for 2 hours now. And it did deliver 9 kilowatts pretty consistently for the whole 2 hours. And the Apex app shows that it delivered a little more than 18 kilowatt hour to the Rivian in those 2 hours. So it didn't derate, didn't shut off, even though it's super hot in here now. Take a look at this temperature, 152 degrees Fahrenheit. So it heats up during the extreme heat test. All the chargers do, even though I maintain about 120 degrees while it's not charging. Once you plug it in and start charging, the unit, it's going to heat up by itself. So that's additional heat. And that's really why we do this stress test, to make sure that even though this unit is outside, the sunlight's baking on it, it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, you can still charge your electric vehicles at full rate and it won't shut off or derate. So the Apex Mach 2 passes the extreme heat test. Next up, we're going to do the automatic restart test. In this test, I have the charger charging an electric vehicle. In this case, I have my Chevy Equinox EV here in the garage, and I shut off power to the circuit to simulate a temporary power outage. I wait about a minute, turn the power back on. What I want to see is that the charger re-engages the vehicle and starts charging it again. Some electric vehicle chargers remain in a fault mode and they don't start charging the electric vehicle again after there's been some sort of power interruption. And that's not good, because you wake up in the morning and your vehicle's not charged, even if there was just a temporary blip of a few seconds of a power outage. So the charger's charging my EV now. I'm going to shut the circuit off, wait about a minute, turn it back on, and then we'll make sure that the Apex Mach 2 re-engages the Equinox and continues charging it. First, I will press this button to kind of wake it up, because if you could see, the screen dims after a little while. I'll hit record here. Okay, video, record. Okay, now I'll shut the circuit off. Okay, well, I can see the unit is powered up and it started charging the Equinox EV again. So the Apex Mach 2 passes the automatic restart test. The Apex Mach 2 is a Wi-Fi connected smart charger, and to use that, you have to download the Smart Life app. But don't make the mistake that I made. I went to the Google Play Store and just searched Apex EV. There's an Apex EV app, which I downloaded, and it allows you to add a charger to your Apex EV app, which I was trying to do, but it wasn't communicating. So I finally called customer service for Apex, and they're like, you have the wrong app. You didn't scan the app on the instructions that we gave you. And I was like, no, I didn't. I just looked up Apex EV and there was an app there where you could add a charging station, and I figured that was it. And like, yeah, no, it's not. So that's on me, because it's clear in the instructions. It tells you to scan this QR code to download the app. I didn't do it. Thought I was smarter than that and I can just find my own app. But it turns out there's another Apex EV app out there. So don't scan that one. What you need to do is just scan the QR code in the instructions or search for the Smart Life app. Once you download that, you can pair the charger. It's really simple and straightforward. 2 minutes, it's added after you put in some of your information. And then you can view your current charging sessions, create schedules. There's not a lot you can do. It's really a basic app. I could tell this app was set up for a bunch of different devices, because even just to get into the charger, you have to select the charger and then it gives you the information on the charger. So the app is obviously set up for other smart home devices, which I don't have, that the company makes. But once you select that, you can see the voltage, the amperage, and the kilowatt draw of your current charging session. Now you can't see how many kilowatt hour it has delivered in that charging session, which bothers me a little. I like to see real-time kilowatt hour that the current charging session has delivered to the vehicle. In fact, you don't get to see that on this display screen either, which bothers me. That's the one thing that's missing. It shows you the current kilowatt draw, but it doesn't tell you how many kilowatt hour in that current session. To see that, you've got to go into the records part of the app. And the current session won't show you the kilowatt hour. You have to end the session, or once it's completed, and then it shows you how many kilowatt hour was delivered in that charging session. I don't like that. I prefer if you see it accumulating as the charging session is going on. So that's one thing I would complain about. Another thing is I noticed that one of my charging sessions, it didn't record the kilowatt hour at all. The vehicle was plugged in for many hours, charging the whole time. And when I checked the app, it showed that there was a 0.0 kilowatt hour delivered. And I know that's not the case because my Ford F-150 Lightning was fully charged after we did that charging session. So the app isn't really the best app. Even how you set up for delayed charging and setting a schedule. You go into the charging mode and you hit fixed time. That's the schedule. And you can set it hourly. You could set it to start end to end on the hour. You can't, let's say, set it for 11:30 p.m. You have to set it for either 11 p.m. or 12 o'clock midnight. Same thing when the session ends, it has to be on an hour. There's another feature in there, and that's the delayed charging. Same thing. You can delay charging for an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 hours. Let's say you don't have a schedule, but there's a time of use option where you're charging at, and it's 8 o'clock at night, and the time of use, the lower electricity rate starts at midnight. You could set it for 4 hours and it won't start charging for 4 hours. And within the app, you could also stop a charging session. And if you have it set up with access control, you could swipe to charge and the vehicle will start charging if you have it set up so unauthorized users can't use it. But outside of that, there's not a lot. It shows your past charging history by date, but it's a very, very basic app. There's many of the other electric vehicle chargers have apps that give you a lot more information and quite honestly are set up a little bit nicer. But I also know a lot of people don't even use the app on their smart chargers. So for many people, that's really not something that should affect their purchasing decision. All right, so I've been using the Apex Mach 2 for about 3 weeks now to charge 5 or 6 different electric vehicles. I have a couple vehicles on loan the last week or so in addition to the 4 electric vehicles that I own, and it worked flawlessly. Never really had any type of problem with it. Really do like this display screen here, which is probably going to time out. It only stays lit for about a minute and then it times out. I don't like the fact that it doesn't show kilowatt hour of your active session. I don't know why they left that out. It's kind of an important item to put in there, but you don't get to see how many kilowatt hour was added. And as I mentioned with the apps, you don't even get to see that during the active charging session. You have to end the charging session. Then it tells you how many kilowatt hour the vehicle took in during that session. So I don't really like that. The cable is really nice. This is a good thin cable, super easy to maneuver. It's 30 feet long, which on one hand was really cool because I could actually stretch the cable completely across the garage and plug in an electric vehicle that's outside in front of my garage. Most garages are only about 22 feet long or so, so this will go out of the garage even if you have it on the far wall. The problem with that is it runs afoul with NEC code. I really don't know how it got ETL certified. ETL must not pay attention to some NEC codes. I know UL wouldn't pass it. So let's just stop for a second and take a look at the specific NEC code that prohibits electric vehicle charging equipment for having a cable longer than 25 feet. All right, so this is NEC Article 625.17, cords and cables. And this is Section C, overall cord and cable length. The overall usable length shall not exceed 7.5 meters, which is 25 feet, unless equipped with a cable management system that is part of the electric vehicle supply equipment or electric vehicle charging system. And I know that wording was a little wonky there. It didn't really make sense. Could they count this as a cable management system? I don't think so. I think what they're talking about is some sort of a retractable reel so that this super long cable isn't laying on the floor, creating a tripping hazard for people. It'll automatically recoil and manage itself. I don't think you coiling it over the charger manages the cable. Perhaps that's the window that Apex went through and said, oh no, this is our cable management, wrap it around here and it's managed. Maybe that's how they interpreted it, but I guess ETL did also. I know I've spoken to other EVSE manufacturers about this, multiple EVSE manufacturers in the past, and they have all said 25 feet is as long as we can go and not run afoul of NEC code. So you get a super long, super thin cable here. It can be useful in some circumstances, but it does conflict with NEC code. That's your decision if you want to do this or not. That doesn't bother me as much as one of the other issues I have with the unit, and that's the fact that you can adjust the power output to exceed the circuit simply by pushing the button here. I'm going to do it right now. It's on 40 amps. You probably can't see that. Now it says 48 amps. Now it will put out 48 amps. Or I could do it from within the app. As a matter of fact, I did it from within the app. While I was charging my Lightning, while an active charging session was going on, I went in, scrolled it up to 48 amps, and it started delivering 48 amps to the vehicle. And I let it sit for a while. I thought maybe it might correct itself. It didn't. So that's a problem, I believe. That's something that I'm not really pleased with. I like it when these units have adjustable power. I like where you could lower the power or raise the power, but I want it to have a hard limit so that when you first set it up, you set the circuit that it's on. And then no matter what you do with your app or the buttons or whatever, you cannot exceed that limit. I just did a recharge rescue episode, and that's where I go to people's homes and fix their charging problems. This one was out in Hillsboro, Oregon, and the person had a problem with their ChargePoint Home Flex. Well, the circuit, the NEMA 1450 outlet melted. We replaced everything. And because they originally set it up to be on a 40 amp or a 50 amp circuit with a 40 amps max draw, when we turned it back on, we hardwired it. The unit would not let us raise it up to 48 amps. We had to delete the unit from his app and reinstall the whole system in order for him to be able to charge at 48 amps because now it was hardwired and the circuit was a 60 amp circuit. That's what I much prefer, that somebody can't make a mistake or somebody can't take your cell phone and fiddle with it or press this button and all of a sudden now you're overdrawing the circuit and you can have serious problems with that. So it's good that it's adjustable, but that's definitely a miss there that I'm not happy with, and hopefully Apex will fix that in the future because I see it as a safety issue for sure. Other than that, the connector's a really nice connector. I like this connector. It feels good in your hand, nice and solid. This thing's a joke, the connector holster. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if that's really the connector holster they ship with all of these. It's the one they ship to me, but it's not the one shown in all of their marketing and the website and on Amazon. I almost think they ran out of that one and started shipping this because this thing, I mean, you can't do anything with it. It's just a little piece of plastic. I wouldn't even hang it on my wall. If that's what comes with it, go online and buy a third-party connector holster. Electron sells them, a bunch of companies sells them, where it'll hold your cable and also holster the connector. But this thing is, that's not even worth the effort. I almost wouldn't ship it if that's what I'm going to send if I was Apex. You know, otherwise, it's a pretty good unit. It's actually better than I thought it would be when I first started unpacking it and when my initial impressions. It's a good, solid unit. I give Apex credit here. It's a nice unit with some small tweaks. Fix the fact that you can overdraw your circuit. Let's get clarity on cable length. That's something that I'm not sure that they should be selling a unit here in the US that is in conflict with NEC code. But other than that, it's a pretty good unit. Fix the app a little bit, make the app a little bit more robust, and you're going to have, a very, very highly rated unit that, I could recommend to people. So with that said, talking about ratings, let's see how well this unit does on the ChargerRater. All right, first up, we'll do the cost and value category. It gets 4 points because this unit costs only $299. It is the least expensive 48 amp Wi-Fi connected smart charger that is safety certified that you can buy today. Warranty, it gets 5 points. This has a standard 5-year warranty, which is outstanding. Value, how can I not give it an excellent rating? Even with the issues I have with it, value-wise, $300 for a 48 amp charger that has a 5-year warranty, doesn't get much better than that. So it finishes up the cost and value category with a staggering 26 points. For power and construction, it gets no points because it has 48 amp max charging power. It gets 1 point for adjustable power. I wish that it got 2 points here and you could set a dip switch. You can't, but you can adjust it from the app and also from the side of the unit, so it gets 1 point. Cable length, it gets 2 points. For connector, it's going to get 3 out of 5. This is a pretty good connector. I like it a lot. Connector holster, it's getting no points. I won't even give it 1 point. That connector holster is a joke that shipped with this thing. So I hope they don't give this out. I really hope, as I mentioned a couple times already, that they ran out of their standard one and just threw this in the box because they didn't have anything else to give me. Next up, temperature sensor and plug. It does not have one, so it gets no points there. It finishes up the power and construction category with 21 points. All right, for the testing category, the extreme cold weather testing, it's going to get 4 points out of 5. For the extreme heat, it gets no points. Past everything, you don't get extra points for that category. For the automatic restart test, it gets 1 point. Past that, safety certified. It is safety certified, so it doesn't get penalized. Energy Star certified. It is Energy Star certified, so it gets a point there. Finishes up the testing category with 21 points. For intelligence, it is a smart charger with an app. You get from 0 up to 5 points in this category. I'm going to give it 2 points. I'm really not impressed with this app. For power share capable, it gets no points because it's not. It doesn't have intelligent load management, so it gets no points there. It does not have specific solar charging capability, no points there. And for access control, it's going to get 3 points because you can limit the charging either from the unit with an RFID card or through your app. So it gets 3 points for that. OCPP standardization, you can only use the native app, so it's not going to get any points for that. As a matter of fact, it loses 2 points for that. And it finishes up the intelligence category with 18 points. And that gives the Apex Mach 2 a total of 86 points on the ChargerRater. And when I take those 86 points and convert them to a 5-star rating, the Apex Mach 2 gets 4.3 stars out of 5. A very good score. But there are some things that the ChargerRater cannot account for. I can't have 100 line items to every possible thing that can happen. Like, for instance, this is the first time I came across a cable that was in violation of NEC code. So there's no line item for that. It also is rare that I get a unit that you can specifically set it to overdraw the circuit that it's on. So I have to penalize it here a little bit. Now I know the ChargerRater gave it a 4.3 stars out of 5, and that's the ChargerRater score. But I'm going to take the 0.3 off of that for a final score of 4 stars out of 5. It's a good unit. Apex can make this a very good unit with just some small minor tweaking by improving the app, setting a hard limit on the power output, and perhaps cutting 5 feet off the cable. I know that that's something that some people are going to like, but I don't like when the units are in violation of NEC code. So the only thing we have left here today is to talk about my hits and misses for the Apex Mach 2. Okay, we'll start off with the hits. I have to mention the low price, $299 for a 48 amp Wi-Fi connected smart charger with a 5-year warranty is amazing. And that brings us to the next hit. And it even includes a NACS adapter so that you can charge any electric vehicle with it, Tesla's included. I also like the LED display that's on the front. It could have some more things showing on there, but it's nice that it has an LED display. And for the misses, we'll start off with the cable, that it conflicts with NEC code. The fact that it's easy to set up to overdraw the circuit that you're on, and also the inadequate connector holster that they sent me with this unit. All right, well, that's all I have here today for the Apex Mach 2 review. And don't forget, this is my full review. I'll follow up this review in a few weeks with my quick charge 10-minute compressed review of this unit for those that don't want to watch a big long 40-minute video. But I guess if you got to this point of the video, you probably did watch it already, but maybe you've been skipping through it. You could watch the quick charge review when I put that out, get all the highlights in 10 minutes or less. And listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.